Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Mother-in-law has always had issues with me dating her son. The main one being that she thinks that I only married him for financial stability and status. She hasn't outright called me a gold digger, but yeah. Last Saturday was my birthday, so dear husband and I invited a few people over, including my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Dear husband had gotten me an expensive set of matching earrings and a necklace that had my birthstone. Mother-in-law took issue with that and tried to go on a rant about how spoiled I was during the dinner, but surprisingly, father-in-law shut her up before I could say a word, and the rest of the night was peaceful. Fast forward to Monday, and I got a ring notification which I ignored because I had been really busy at work. That turned out to be a big mistake on my part, since hours later, my sister-in-law sent me a link to an Instagram post when I had just gotten home and was waiting for my husband. This post was a photo of mother-in-law wearing both the necklace and earrings, with a caption thanking my husband for the early birthday gift. He wasn't tagged in it though, and I was in serious shock. When dear husband got home, I showed him the post. Then we checked the footage, which showed mother-in-law using her key to get into that house, which I regret giving to her, and coming back out with the box in hand to walk back to her car. My shock turned into anger once I realized what was happening, and I told dear husband that I wanted to call the cops on mother-in-law for stealing the earrings and necklace. Dear husband insisted that I shouldn't do that because mother-in-law would make the process hell and go through it kicking and screaming. He eventually wore me down, but I took a screenshot of it just in case she deleted it, which she did in a few hours because my sister-in-law and other in-laws were calling her out on the theft in the comments. Dear husband texted and called, trying to get mother-in-law to give the jewelry back, but she has been refusing to, since it's her right to take them because her son wasn't spending his money on the right things, and I was ungrateful about receiving them. I still want to call the cops, but dear husband still doesn't want to get them involved and thinks he can convince his mother to do the right thing. OP absolutely has to go to the police. She brazenly broke into OP's home and stole from her. OP has video evidence, and she even bragged on social media. She is a criminal. If OP lets her get away with this, what on earth will she do next? She sounds totally unhinged and needs to learn that actions such as breaking and entering and stealing have consequences. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Disastrous Panda says, No. Mother-in-law had the chance to return it. I would call the cops. You have video footage, her IG post, and likely text to prove she has stolen it. I would also blast her on social media. Post the footage of her stealing it and screenshot. Change the locks. I'm livid for you, so I can't imagine how much angrier you are. SJYFFL says, So she had the balls to enter your home without permission and take something, and then post about it on social media. You have the ring footage and the post, so she's down on 2 counts. Press charges and get your key back. She stole from you. This isn't about doing the right thing anymore. This is full-on delusional. She was there when your husband gifted you the set, and she took it and acted like he gave it to her. She needs a reality check immediately. Update. So I gave mother-in-law an ultimatum. She had 24 hours to return what she stole, or I go to the police. Well, guess if she did return my jewelry. No, she hasn't. So I went to the police. But now my husband is furious, saying I don't listen to him and we are family and should solve problems inside our family without involving police. So I'm shocked with his reaction and don't have a clue where it's going to get us. For context, my mother-in-law and I have never had a good relationship. I've always kept her at arm's length, but not because she treated me poorly, but because she treated almost everyone poorly. She's especially cruel to sister-in-law, who has had 4 children back to back. She treats sister-in-law like garbage because she's no longer as skinny as she was pre-kids. The only reason my mother-in-law liked me was because of my body. She only cared about how good I looked next to her son. As if women only exist to be trophies for men. Mother-in-law definitely has internalized misogyny, and speaking to her is exhausting because of it, and her general cruelty. Anyways, I gave birth to my twins in June, and when mother-in-law met them for the first time in July, she could only comment on my body, which my dear husband shut down immediately. Every time she'd come around, She just kept saying there's still hope, as if I complained about my body to her. She's gross. Because of my babies, I finally gained weight and had curves. I felt hot, and mother-in-law hated the fact that I was embracing my post-baby body instead of crying over my pre-baby body like she was. My husband's family has dinner together once every week, and for the past couple of weeks, mother-in-law has been having her cook make sister-in-law and I healthier options. I just ignore them because I know what she's doing. It's only for the two of us, but there's one serving, so she's restricting how much we eat as well. Last week, mother-in-law decided to sit next to me and only pass me healthy food. I didn't ask her to do this. I politely asked her to stop and just pass me what I asked for. She said, "You'll never lose the last of the baby weight if I'm not strict with you." Excuse me? I didn't ask her to do this for me. My dear husband loves my body, and I do too. Neither of us complained about my body to her. She just took it upon herself. I got frustrated and turned to dear husband and just ate off his plate while he got more food. We ate from one plate. Mother-in-law lost her mind. I'd never heard her shout like that in the 6 years I've known her. She went on a rant about how I'm going to die of obesity and get diabetes. How dear husband is disgusted by my body. Dear husband went to get our babies while she was ranting, grabbed me, and we left through her rant, which went on to sister-in-law for half an hour. She hasn't apologized for her behavior. Instead, she's saying I need to apologize for disrespecting her as the host by refusing to try the food specially made for me. She said if I didn't want her help, I should have just said so. I did, many times, and so did dear husband. She's made herself the victim as always, and it's so strange to witness people falling for it. Also, until I apologize, family dinner is canceled. Dear husband's cousin is saying never apologize, because these dinners are always stressful and exhausting. What a mess she is! Restricting someone's food, when they never asked you, will always lead to resentment, and quite often eating larger portions. This is toxic for OP's children to grow up hearing, so no more dinners are a good thing. Family dinner being canceled is the biggest favor she could have done for OP. Free time is precious. Why spend it with someone cruel and toxic? And yes, OP should never apologize to her. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Misdemeanor 65 says, I agree with dear husband's cousin. Never apologize. Just flat out tell her that she may have issues with her body, and that's fine. And if she has issues with your body, that's fine too, because she's the one with the issues. I'd sit there with a dozen donuts and get a good sugar rush going with sister-in-law. I'd avoid that woman as much as humanly possible. Mick 1187 says, sounds like the trash took itself out. Kudos to your dear husband for shutting it down. Loving your body after childbirth is something a lot of women struggle with. She sounds jealous and completely out of touch. Your gain, her loss. Lenore Nevermore 86 says, you have nothing to apologize for, and her canceling the weekly dinners is a win for everyone, especially sister-in-law, you, and your kids. The kids need to be protected from her diet, weight fixation. Hey folks, I'm back with another story. For background, I'm a wedding and portrait photographer, mostly elopements these days, thank God, with stories of the crazy families and guests I've had at some of my events over the years. And today, I have a story about the time a mother-in-law showed up to her son's wedding after 10 years of silence. You read that right, a decade. There were tears, CBF, dirty looks, quite a few thrown my way when I popped off on dear old mom, and copious amounts of drinking involved. Not me, rather mother-in-law got hammered on the dance floor. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, I was forewarned that mother-in-law wouldn't be there, but that the stepmother-in-law, father-in-law had since remarried, was going to be taking the place of mother-in-law in all groom-mom-oriented events, and that it would be dandy. I'm all for it. Out of curiosity, I had asked if they invited mother-in-law to the wedding, or if she was totally out. The bride informed me they had sent an invite as a courtesy, but she never responded, so they assumed she wouldn't attend. Oh, how wrong they were. I show up on the wedding day to the bride being knee-deep in her third bottle of wine. She had some rather alarming family drama of her own go down the night before, but that's a story I feel that if I tell, may be too identifiable. And when I arrived, she immediately told me that she was so sorry about how the day was going to go, and I went into crisis-dodging mode. I told her that I was determined to make sure that everything went correctly, so she should let me know what to do. She told me that the mother-in-law called about 20 minutes before I arrived and asked where she should park. She assumed there would be family-only parking, you see. And as family, she needed a good spot. Mind you, the bride is yet to even meet the mother-in-law. That's how long it's been since they were in contact. So here's this woman demanding princess parking without so much as an introduction, 3 hours before the wedding. We can all see where this is going, right? I proceed to ask how the groom is, and if there's anything I can kick to help them out. Bride says he knows she's coming. His best man stopped by to buy all the wine. I quickly made my way to the groom, who was hitting the bottle just as hard as his future wife, and he told me that he decided to let her attend, as it wouldn't be worth the hassle to remove her, but if she made the bride upset, she was out. The ceremony goes fine, as we didn't have time to run into the woman. But when family pictures came about, she wasted no time trying to take over. Now, let me start with this. Casual weddings are fine. They can be really nice, and this was a casual wedding, but it was not a backyard wedding. People treated it like church clothes, not a hoedown. But not mother-in-law. Oh no, y'all. We're talking ripped blue jeans, a 3/4 sleeve shirt with a bejeweled cross on the front, and flames on the back. And one of those purses that attaches to the belt clip to hold your phone, so your hands are free to hold your beer. She even had the beer cracked and ready. She was glaringly out of place, is my point. I start lining up his family for pictures, and I ask her to stand next to the bride and for Dad's stepmother-in-law to stand next to the groom. I had gotten clearance from the couple to include her in pictures, but the groom specifically asked to not have her stand next to him, as she hadn't been around. The bride offered the spot next to her as a nicety. Immediately, she CBFs, and I said, "Mother-in-law, is something up? You're not smiling in any of the photos." She growls at me and says, "How dare you put her next to my son? I am his mother, not that W." Obviously talking about stepmother-in-law. Everyone gets dead silent, and I smiled my million-watt duck you smile and say, "I don't see a W here. Rather, I see a family that's trying to get wedding photos done. Shall we continue without the name-calling? Otherwise, you're welcome to go wait for the reception to start." She quickly shut up, but was grunting throughout the whole photo lineup. I asked her if she needed a cough drop, and she cut that out. We finished and headed off to the reception, where she proceeded to continue drinking like a fish that was out of water. When it came time for the mother-son dance, my drama feelers were tingling, so I asked the groom what he wanted to do. His stepmother, who was a saint all day, very kindly offered to let his mother dance with him if he wanted. She said, "If this can help repair things, I'll gladly step aside." Absolute saint, I tell you. During the dance, mother-in-law was sobbing into her son's chest, all about how glad she was to have him back and how much she missed him. The groom was stone-faced and angry throughout the whole event, and the bride was taking shots over at the bar, ignoring the whole thing. I thought she would chill out, but mother-in-law decided to spend the rest of the night chasing after me, making my job a hell of a lot harder, because she was trying to explain why she needed to step away from her kids. You see, they wouldn't support me when their father and I split. He cheated on me with that W, and my kids weren't there for me. I needed to protect myself. On and on and on with the excuses. I was clearly the first person to stand up to her in ages, so she needed me on her side. I finally stopped her and said, "Look, mother-in-law, I don't care about your reasons. I'm here to do the job your son and his wife hired me to do, and I will not tolerate you interfering with that anymore. You decided punishing your children for not taking sides against their father was the right decision. You chose to not see your kids for 10 years, missed weddings, the births of your granddaughters, and being a part of family because your feelings were hurt. I have literally no respect for people like you, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Now please, leave me alone and stop drinking. You're making a fool of yourself." I walked away from her and straight to the couple to tell them what I said, in case I overstepped. The groom hysterically laughed and said, "It's about ducking time someone besides my sister and I got it. Want a beer?" I declined, but after that, she sat at a table and was quiet for the rest of the night. I don't regret what I said at all, and to my knowledge, she has reached out a few times, and very few family members are letting her back in. I applaud OP Smackdown. Honestly, I still can't wrap my mind around abandoning your own children because they didn't want to make a choice that they shouldn't have to make. 10 years. 10 years! Even if the father had cheated, you don't just abandon your children because you had to protect yourself. What the hell does that even mean? I mean, yes, your safety, but your own kids? The narc is strong with this one. Wakarati says, "On that day, humankind received a grim reminder. Courtesy invitations are stupid, and you should never send an invite to anyone you don't actually want at your event. Lady of Fluff says, I can't understand why they sent her an invite. Am I the only one who would have just sent her a warning that I would strangle her with a tablecloth if she decided to turn up? For context, I am a professional florist, so tomorrow starts 2 hellish weeks of 14 hours straight, 12+ hours a day, and yesterday I had to do pre-Valentine's inventory. Needless to say, I do not want to hang out with anyone today or have anyone over to do anything at all really. So I'm on my boyfriend's PC in the spare room on a Zoom conference call for work for preparation for the next 2 weeks. My boyfriend is at work. My doorbell rings, and it's my boyfriend's mom and uncle, who I've only ever met once. They didn't call or text or anything ahead of time. I tell her I'm really sorry, but I'm on a work call and I really need to get back to it, and I have to be able to focus on it. She asks if she can come in, but I keep saying no. I really need to return to my conference call. She's asking me about the Christmas gifts for my nephews, if I can grab them so she can bring them to them, etc. After about 10 minutes, my male district manager says my name on the call and told me I need to come back. And she starts looking around me almost as if she's looking for someone in my house. I got annoyed and told her I need to get back to my call now, as I'm missing vital information that I need for the holiday, as this is my first year with this company, an independent shop. I was a grocery store florist for 4 years, but that's a whole different story. And I'm sorry, but I'll see her the next time we get together, and I closed the door and locked it. They both messaged him on Facebook, which stays logged in on his PC, which I was using for my Zoom call, saying that I was rude and disrespectful for not letting them in to hang out, and that it's suspicious that a man, my district manager on the call, called my name to come back to the spare bedroom. So am I the a-hole for not letting them come in and hang out while I was trying to take a work call? Faux Rain says, not the a-hole. Your first mistake was opening the door at all. Comfortable Zebra says, not the a-hole. Next time, don't even respond to someone at the door. You gave her way too much time. Showing up unannounced is rude and not okay. Don't be so nice next time. Agreeable too says, how rude of them. I wouldn't have answered the door at all, but I can also be rude when incited. Why would she think that hanging out at your home is even a thing? It's just not done unless invited, of course. Then, to message your husband insinuating that you have a man in the house is just the icing. I would ask my husband to talk to his mother about boundaries, and if he doesn't want to, then I would. I'm glad she doesn't have a key to your home, though.